Namaskar and welcome to Late Edition. Central Vigilance Commission, which is the apex integrity institution of the country, seeks to promote integrity, transparency and also accountability in public life. And one of the significant outreach measures in this particular direction is the observance of Vigilance Week, which is observed every year. And this year, the week is observed from 31st of October to 5th of November. And as we talk about it, the week is underway. And this year, the theme is public participation in promoting integrity and eradicating corruption. We have an esteemed panel tonight on Late Edition to discuss basically various parameters of this outreach program, the role and way forward when we talk about the big picture of the Central Vigilance Commission. And very esteemed panel on the show. On my left, I have with me Mr. K.V. Chaudhary, Central Vigilance Commissioner. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. And also on Late Edition panel, we are joined by Dr. T.M. Bhasin. He is Vigilance Commissioner. Thank you very much, Mr. Bhasin, for being with us on the show. And also, I welcome Ms. Pinky Anand, Additional Solicitor General, for taking out time for DD News. And very warm welcome to Vivek Mehrotra ji, former IAS, and he is also part of this. He is also part of the CVC Committee of Experts and has served in various ministries in the past. Also, he has been the Secretary Disinvestment among other important portfolios. And quickly, let's start the discussion. Mr. Chaudhary, let me start with you. If you could just to put in perspective, give us an overview of the various activities that are being conducted in this week, especially as far as the public participation of the civil society is concerned, and how much of the ground has been covered in terms of making this outreach program very popular, very mass-oriented, because this, in fact, has been an yearly feature of the CVC.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here and interact with your audience. The Vigilance Awareness Week is celebrated every year and on the day in which 31st October, the birth anniversary of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel falls. And every year the Commission goes to the public or its stakeholders with a particular focus topic. This year we have decided that we should go to the public participation in the activity of anti-corruption and promoting integrity, because by and large people expect that the integrity agencies like CVC, CBI or Anti-Corruption Bureau, they are in charge of eradicating corruption. But as you know, the corruption has two sides. One is the demand side and the other is the supply side. By and large, we have been talking about the demand side. That is, somebody is demanding a quid pro quo or some money or whatever it is, bribery, etc. And then of course we investigate, and some get caught, some probably get away with because of the technical loopholes or shortages in investigation, etc. But we haven't really seriously looked at the supply side. Okay. If the public who are on the other side of the coin, they decide that I am not going to be part of this activity, which is a thing which is to be denounced, then probably the supply side, demand side also will take care of it gradually. Then people, why we took this year was that a lot of people keep asking, look, by various surveys done by international agencies, India is at so and so number, be it 76 in the Transparency International, so on and so forth. So what are you going to do with that? So my answer has invariably been that, look here, it's not cast on the shoulders of either the CVC or the CBI or a particular individual that you take this forward or you get a lesser number. The responsibility is on every citizen that he resolves for himself that I am not going to be part of a corrupt practice, be it bribery, be it nepotism, be it something else. So we have decided that we should go to the public. As part of that, we have a multi-pronged policy. One is that we are going to go to the schools, colleges, where our younger generation and fresh people, fresh mind and high ideals, we go and activate them. We talk to them, we interact with them and conduct debates, oratory and all kinds of other activities, so that they get enthused by this and then they resolve to be honest in their future life. The second is we have also requested a lot of our organizations through whom we work, the banks and other public sector undertakings, to reach out to the rural people, semi-urban people through Gram Sabhas, town hall meetings, etc., also to make them aware. The third and most important thing is that we have designed an integrity pledge for citizens as well as organizations, so that people access our website and they take a pledge, and the pledge says, I am going to be
e-integrity pledge that you're talking about.
And it's a voluntary thing. It doesn't promise you anything except that you have the emotional satisfaction that you are part of a movement.
Yes.
And should an odd thought occur to you sometime, then probably it will prick your mind that, look here, I have taken a pledge, I am not going to do this.
So for a layman to understand this entire concept or the premise on which your this outreach program, or the fact that why this Vigilance Week is being observed, is to basically convert it into a bigger campaign to have a mass public participation, basically including civil society. Mr. Basi, let me come to you. When we say this, how much has this been implemented? Because observing Vigilance Week has been an yearly feature, but particularly this year the focus has been on civil society. What challenges do you see when it comes to implementing it, vis-a-vis getting civil society on board, getting them on the same page, at the same time making it very effective on the ground level?
Till now we had been implementing the integrity pledge only for the various officials of various organizations, government organizations. Now we have expanded this concept, and larger arena of society will be covered by this. This is a big challenge, but at the same time we have talked to all the CVOs of various organizations, government organizations, departments and ministries, etc. And a lot of homework has been done, and the CBC is also, on the website it will be available, online registration is available. And wherever in rural and semi-urban areas the organizations are working in such a way that the integrity pact, this integrity pledge will be posted on the register, and those names will be uploaded on the CVC website. So holistic approach has been taken. While the people who can use technology, they can directly approach the website of the commission. The people who cannot approach directly, they will be approached by the CVOs and the commission through the you can say the hard copy mode, and that data will be uploaded. The final outcome is that the certificate can be downloaded also by the person who takes the pledge, and the pledge will be taken both by the individuals as also the organizations, which can be, you can say, private sector organizations also, companies also. So this is a holistic approach, and all out efforts are being made to make it successful. But obviously, this week alone will not be enough, and whole year will be used to take this pledge forward.
We will, of course, talk about the roadmap ahead and the way forward that you're looking at, the CVC is looking at. Ms. Anand, let me come to you now. This whole government, of course, is extremely serious in terms of weeding out corruption at the higher offices. And how much of that campaign has been really effective at the grassroots level, at the ground level, especially the kind of proactive approach that we have seen taken by CBC?
I think these are the kind of messages that you send down when you do institutional organization, and where the government actually outreaches itself to the public. I mean, when you have this bhagidari concept, then it is not only one's domain, but it is a domain which is being stretched out to the people at large. The moment civil society actively participates in such a program, I think half the battle is won, because ultimately the corruption is done by some, but it is borne by others. The people who are bearing it, if they become alert, if they actually reach out to stop, and believe me, according to me, the current youth in our country is a very energetic and active, and has different aspirations from the earlier generations. I think reaching out to be right is something which comes almost automatically within the entire premises of the youth. So I think if we can reach out and pass the message, I'll give you a small example. It's like conserving water. The children of today will actually speak out against the adults who are using water or not looking after these considerations properly, or even Diwali. So all these issues come into being all the time. And I think if we can activate and do this program, which is being done so well by the CVC, it leads out a message that this thing is wrong. We want your participation. We want you people to be active actors, so to say. And I think that's the way it can work.
Rightly so. You talked about young India, Mr. Mehrotra. On those similar lines, we've seen that CVC has increasingly, involving academic institutions, particularly schools, and the response that you've received, I was just going through your websites, the response is extremely positive, especially at the educational, institutional levels. The activities that CVC has planned or is planning in this particular week and beyond also. Mr. Mehrotra.
Yes, you see, the corruption has been so deeply entrenched in our society that so far people used to regard it as something inevitable, and they had stopped. They thought that fighting corruption is futile, but due to these outreach attempts which are being made, thankfully this mindset is changing, and that passive social outlook which used to be there earlier is now changing, and people are no longer willing to tolerate corruption, whether it is extortionary corruption, which is often taken from people who want services which they are legally entitled to, or even collusive corruption or corruption in high places. People are no longer willing to tolerate that, and the earlier cynicism is vanishing due to these outreach efforts.
All right, the cynicism is vanishing. Well, that's a positive sign. Mr. Chaudhary, especially when we talk about the public redressal system, the mechanism that is in place, and in fact, in one of your earlier interviews, you've also talked about whistleblower mechanism, which needs to be really strengthened. Also, something more concrete in that direction, not only during this week, but basically a big picture when it comes to the changes that are required in the Whistleblowers Act and mechanism.
Yeah, the Whistleblower Act is still to be implemented in the form in which it has been passed. And even before it got implemented, there are already amendments which are pending before the Parliament. But pending the enactment of the Act and its implementation, we already have what is called a PITP resolution. So under this, essentially the sum and substance is the same. The public can make a complaint under this PITP resolution in a sealed cover addressed to the Central Vigilance Commission, and with a superscription of that it is a complaint under the PITP Act. PITP resolution or PITP complaint, in which case it will not be opened by any person other than the secretary to the commission. And the secretary and the 3 additional secretaries go through it and then decide whether it has any actionable complaint, in which case they take the confirmation from the person that he did in fact make the complaint, and then log this complaint and keep it in a safe place where it cannot be accessed by anybody. Thereafter, even I or other members don't know, and only the summary of the complaint is taken and it is taken up for investigation. So we also have a provision to extend some kind of a security in case the person requires or the facts and circumstances so warrant. We also have a facility in case the complaint is emanating from an individual, from an organization. He may be an employee, then he may be threatened with a transfer, vigilance, etc. We also take. No, ma'am. Anonymous complaints are not treated as PITP complaints. As a matter of policy, the Commission is not acting upon anonymous and pseudonymous complaints. Complaints which are not confirmed by an individual or an organization as having made by them, we don't act upon them. However, in a rare and extraordinary case, if the information in the anonymous complaint is so very serious enough and a verifiable one, as I said, a very, very rare case, we may treat it as a sumo to inquiry and then cause some verification.
Mr. Bhasin, the whole concept of reaching out to rural India or semi-urban class, especially rural India, when we talk about what are the challenges, or if at all you're finding any challenges in terms of implementation, and especially any mechanism that is being put in place as far as this entire mission of weeding out corruption is concerned? Mr. Bhasin.
See, on 28th August 2014, Honorable Prime Minister started the Jan Dhan Yojana, and a vast network of business correspondents, BCs, has been set across at panchayat level, at village level. So the Commission has decided to take the help of these organizations, BC organizations, through the banking system. These are more than 1 lakh in number today, and in addition to that, rural and semi-urban branches are there. various PSUs and this PSCs also have a lot of rural presence. So what we have decided is, and we have informed them and communicated to them, is that this network is to be used to proliferate the Commission's this integrity pledge, and their help will be taken. And as I explained earlier, the physical format will be transmitted into the electronic format, and the physical pledge will be converted into e-pledge as far as the rural and semi-urban India is concerned through these channels.
And are you also roping in or reaching out to rural India through Gram Panchayat?
Yeah, we are also organizing the Gram Mahasabhas, and the Panchayat network will be used for this. The concept is that this vigilance awareness should reach the rural people at the grassroots level, semi-urban people, so that they also understand the importance of it, and nobody is able to use or misuse them or misguide them and take advantage.
So you've raised a very relevant point there, misguiding and misusing this mechanism. Pinky Anand, if I can come to you, the whole concept of filing PILs or RTIs is a very big move or a way forward when it comes to seeking justice. But do you think somewhere down the line that particular aspect has been misused? We're talking about the activism which is misled, and there are challenges when you're dealing with that space. Would you agree? And how to deal with that?
No, you're absolutely right. The problem is when you do a good thing, sometimes the good thing tends to transform itself in some portions to what is possibly not acceptable or some diverse practices. I mean, we see this in the courts, for example, all the time. You have PILs. PILs have started to benefit the common people and a larger cross-section of people. But what it does become at times, it becomes a tool to take vengeance against, particularly commercial interests, vested interests. So the whole problem is when you give some kind of remedy, sometimes it is misutilized, and it happens pretty frequently, unfortunately, with us. So I think we have to be rather vigilant, and I like the approach of the CVC, for example, that they don't want to act on anonymous complaints by and large. So unless there is something extraordinary which will involve the Commission's own action, you take cognizance only on the basis of written complaints. Secondly, I think that when you have such complaints, it should not be a right onto a person to seek enforcement of that, in the sense that yes, the CVC should look into it, but then the CVC should take care of it as it deems fit. To go beyond that would be a kind of taking it too far, because it then becomes an entire process which would encumber the action of the CVC or other vigilance agencies. So I think you have to curtail and to evaluate and have the right to evaluate such actions.
Okay. Mr. Mehrotra, how do we do that, especially the issue that Ms. Anand has raised, and also from you, we would like to know Whistleblowers Act, the changes, and especially the welfare and the concerns of the witnesses, especially in the sensitive cases. How is all that really being taken care by the CVC, and are you also going to pick those aspects when you're observing this particular week and the activities that are generated to reach out to masses?
You see, what we have observed is that there is a very close connection between the public servant's willingness to expose corruption in her organization and the protection which is offered to her and to her identity.
Okay.
And any bodily harm or any harm to the whistleblower should be protected in a statutory manner, and also there should be a law to punish any kind of victimization, harassment or bodily harm to the whistleblower. Now I am reminded of a very important initiative, a very old act of US government in this regard, False Claims Act, which recognized the fact that it is not possible for government alone to fight corruption, and it needs to take the help of private citizens in this.
Okay.
And they also, this is some kind of a partnership between the public law enforcers and the private citizens to fight against corruption. So what happens there is that a private citizen, if he is aware of any fraud or corruption by any person or entity, he can file a claim in the law courts on behalf of the federal government, and as an incentive he is given a part of the proceeds which are recovered from that corrupt person. Now a very important feature of that act is a very strong protection which has been offered to the whistleblowers in this, and you would it's very interesting to note that from 1987, they amended this act sometime in 1986, and from then on to 1913, they have recovered, the American government recovered $39 billion in these false claims, and 70% of that, almost $27 billion, were through the effort of the whistleblowers. So they had been protection. That's very, very important. Once we the
Are
act,
we looking at doing something like that on similar lines, perhaps?
the act which was our act of 2011, I think it needs to be revisited in these aspects, because A, it does not make it does not reward the whistleblower in any manner, so it does not encourage whistleblowing.
Okay.
Number two, it doesn't even define what is victimization. And number three, it does not provide for any kind of penalties for victimization or harassment of the whistleblower. So to that extent, I think this act needs to be revisited.
Pinky, quickly your thoughts on it.
I was just thinking, it's amusing you asked me, but basically under the laws, for example, you have the power to impose a fine, penalty or imprisonment, for example, of people who threaten witnesses. So I think the whistleblower is one of the most important features in this entire story, aside from the public and the civil society. So when the whistleblower can only come forth if A, they are assured of being protected, and secondly, there is some kind of penalty for if there is prosecution. And I think that's the most important ingredient. You have to have a penalty of sorts, including imprisonment, of people who threaten whistleblowers or harass them.
All right. But I would like to have closing remarks also from Mr. Bhasin. If you could just tell me the challenges that are lying ahead, and especially the vision of the Commission, not only as far as this week is concerned, but a bigger picture when it comes to CVC and its vision.
CVC always encourages bringing transparency and honesty in the system, and we are working towards that with full vigor and zeal. I think the pledge we have taken, or e-pledge which we are going to proliferate, will be a grand success, because it is a year-long process. The beginning will be from 31st onwards, and we are sure that it is going to be a great game changer in times to come.
Game changer in times to come. Mr. Chaudhary, final word from you, the way forward, and also your assessment as far as the work that's been done so far, and the bigger tasks that are lying ahead to make it a real game changer as put forward by the Vigilance Commissioner.
The biggest challenge is going to be, even without this awareness program and getting into people at the grassroots level, the CVC gets about 60,000 complaints per year.
Okay.
Most of it, they do not relate to the Commission's work. Well, I don't want to say that they don't relate, but the point is many of them are not complaints, but they are grievances. Somebody is not getting adequate power supply, somebody is not, his road is not repaired, things like that. But prima facie, there is no vigilance angle per se, directly, at least in the complaint. So what happens is, people make complaints to organizations which are not directly connected with that. As a result, the system chokes.
Okay.
And just imagine disbursing these 60,000 complaints to the respective agencies itself takes away a lot of time of the Commission. The second thing is, there is sometimes some impertinence on the part of the complainant. He makes a complaint today, you have to give some time for the system to act. After all, it's not the one complaint, and there's no one CVC for each complaint. So from the 10th day onwards or the 11th day onwards, the man keeps sending reminders.
Yeah.
There are at least a dozen people every day send reminder number 763, 764, etc. Now that's not going to help, it only chokes the system. The fourth is, people also need to have some faith in the system. You made a complaint, and there are different levels. After all, fortunately, the Constitution has provided several checks and balances in the system. So it is probably an extraordinarily rare case where that is fudged. So if people have a faith, they make a full and complete complaint, and the system will take care
So
of it.
what would be your message to Doordarshan, to all?
My message to the public is that don't be a part of the corrupt practices, and if you come across something, please do report to the right agency. Do ensure that your identity is protected, follow the right process, so that you are first safe, then the purpose is also served. And please take the pledge, integrity pledge, and it's not mere taking of the pledge. Please digest it into yourself and implement it.
So basically the bottom line here is, as far as the Central Vigilance Commission and its bigger message to the nation is that come and join us, be part of the big picture, the big campaign. It's not about observing this week, it's about turning it to a big movement as far as finishing corruption, weeding out corruption completely, and whether it's public life or from the higher offices, all that is concerned. Thank you very much, my panelists, for being with us on Late Edition. I thank Central Vigilance Commissioner K.V. Chaudhary for joining us. Thanks a lot. Also Vigilance Commissioner Mr. Bhasin, Dr. T.M. Bhasin, and I also thank Vicky Anand, the Additional Solicitor General, and my many thanks to Mr. Vivek Mehrotra, former bureaucrat. And thank you very much, all of you. With that, it's time to quickly wrap up this edition of Late Edition. You can continue tuning into DD News for the latest. From the entire team, namaskar.